Let's begin. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hearken, dear listener, the sound of sleigh bells in the background, howling winds and falling snow heralds in Christmas. I'm Ruskeydoo.
That's the sound of people still working on my bathroom. What do you think sleigh bells sound like?
Do you have Christmas elves? Listen to them frolicking as they work making presents for Santa. Do you think that's workmen working on a bathroom? No.
And I'm a very sleepy grey. I've had a pleasantly long afternoon, let's say.
Drinking and having Christmas dinner. Excellent. This is Podcast76.
Yeah.
And presumably you're going to be listening to this just before Christmas. Because if you're not listening to this just before Christmas, Micah doesn't get a Christmas. Micah's going to be editing this. That's right. You're getting coal. You're getting nothing till our podcast is fucking edited. No, that's not the Christmas spirit, is it?
No, not at all.
You're listening to this when you're listening to this. Jolly good show.
Wonderful.
Well, what has happened this week? Well, in the world of updates, there's been lots of little tweaks and pokes. I was going to say...
Fiddles? No, let's not say fiddles.
I was going to say tweaks and teaks, but that makes no sense whatsoever.
No, teak is a type of wood.
Yes. Well, there's more discussion on one-tricks, as if you're not bored enough of the discussion on one-trips yet. There is the Doomfist buff, which is no buff. Jeff lays the smackdown, and there is a Yeti Hunt mini-comic. There's not that much this week, I'm assuming because the Blizzard team are winding down for Christmas. Now, let me explain. It's not just that they have Christmas off and they're slacking this week, but what it is you don't release anything big just coming up to Christmas. Because just imagine if they released something remotely big and it didn't work. They've got two options. They've got the game doesn't work for people over Christmas, unacceptable, or they don't get Christmas because they're mending it, also unacceptable. Ergo, the only thing to do is wind it back, take it a bit easy.
I think it's a very sensible thing to do.
Yeah.
As in, fuck all.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
it's
yeah.
like once it hits December, you're trying to not get whammed in the Whamageddon game, and yeah.
You just don't want to promise work that you're not going to be able to fulfill.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, what has happened in the PTR?
Had a couple of minor updates, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first thing, which as someone who plays a lot of Winston is really cool, is they've kind of sorted out how ramps work.
It's not just ramps, it's general air control.
Well, I notice it most on ramps because you know the momentum jump where you do your leap, you hold down spacer, so as soon as you land, you get to do a jump with the same speed as your leap.
Yes.
Well, before, if you did that and landed on a slope, you just went, buh, and you were dead. But now you get a little bit of slide going up the slope, which is lovely.
It's a little bit Source Engine-y.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's kind of like it's a little bit floatier in a way.
Yeah, so there's this thing in Source games that ran on the original Source engine, the Source 1.5, but anyway, early iterations of the Source engine, where when you hit ramps going at a certain speed, your momentum would continue as you slid up that ramp. And it felt quite pleasant in a sort of gameplay aspect because it made everything feel quite fluid, but it did feel kind of weird when it first happens to you because you're just like, why are all slopes made of ice?
Yeah.
But I think generally this is good because it just allows for more controlled gameplay in the air. And I just think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I don't think, it just makes good players have more mobility.
I think particularly for Winston, this is actually it's a good buff.
Yeah.
He gets places a bit faster and gets that little bit more control.
Yes. Theoretically, this will also affect Genji, but I haven't tried it out yet.
Fair enough.
Yeah, Farah as well. I'm wondering if Farah's going to end up needing
She gets
other
a lot
tweaking.
of air control already, though, right?
I think she does get increased air control. Just as a part of, like, you have a jetpack, so you get better air control, but I can't remember exactly how it is.
Here's the question. Is this actually a pretty damn huge Junkrat buff?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We'll have to see how it plays out.
Mm.
Next tidbit of information. They have sorted out the Hanzo skin.
Yes, they have. Everybody's okay.
Right. So the Hanzo skin that's currently on the live version, he's wearing some kind of fake stick-on beard, and his trousers, the crotch, is basically around his knees.
And also, it just didn't quite look like what was in the comic, because in the comic, he looks kind of young, hip, and kind of, super cash. And in this, he just sort of looked like he's wrapped up in a parka and he's an old man.
And the weird thing is, like, he's an old man who had like this line shaved between his beard and his hair.
Yeah.
It was all a bit, I'm not sure about this.
It was a bit...
Yeah, so in the PTR right now, you can see him with young man facial hair and a slightly raised up crotch. I personally think I would have hiked the crotch up a bit more, but I wonder if there's like a reason that the crotch is so low. I don't know.
The bones and the rigging?
Probably. Because all of Hanzo's pants, he doesn't have much thigh definition.
No.
So
the thing I would say is also that he spends most of his time like semi-crouched. So it's going to like change how you perceive most of his body.
Mm.
So like I bet we can pop into the PTR and I'll grab that skin and we can take a good look at it later.
Yeah. But interesting, they still haven't fixed things like May's New Year skin from last year.
Yeah, that seems
She still
weird
gets
to
a
me.
weird ledge butt going on and stuff.
Yeah, ledge butt.
I can't think of a better way to describe it.
No, I'm with you. It is a ledge butt. And thirdly, there are a bunch of bug fixes around weapon accuracy.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yeah. So basically, when you shot things like Maze Wall, which you do shoot...
Yes, of course.
And barriers, it changed what your weapon accuracy was.
Yeah, this was a recent bug, wasn't it?
A relatively recent bug, yeah. But,
yeah, like a week or so.
But yeah, now that's fixed in the PTR, so your weapon accuracy is going to be better or more accurate to what you actually do. And not penalise you for shooting things that you should be shooting, such as barriers and walls, etc.
Yes.
Which I think is a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually terrible because it's like if you don't shoot barriers and you win a game with the current thing of, it does an assessment of your stats to judge how many points you should get, you actually gain less for shooting barriers, which is nuts.
I think I'm really beginning to feel like they should just remove all those stats until the end of the game.
And not let people rag on each other for it.
Just nothing until the end of the game. At the end of the game, like, look at all these cool stats you did. And just like, yeah, I did some cool stuff. But in reality, like, because it's just like, if you've done a certain amount of damage, that could be more a measure of how long the game has gone on than how well you performed. You know? If you look at a raw number.
Oh God, we're treading old ground here, but it's that whole thing of like, if one of your if your Zenyatta is saying, "Oh, I've got gold damage, my DPSs aren't doing anything," maybe that Zenyatta's just not actually doing any healing or helping the DPS, and that's one of the contributing factors towards why they're not getting in the damage or whatever.
I did have a game recently where I was gold damage on Zenyatta for a lot of it. I was like, what am I doing wrong?
No, Zenyatta kicks out a hell of a lot of damage.
But I shouldn't be out damaging the DPS. I don't understand.
Why shouldn't you be out damaging the DPS?
Because the DPS should be further forwards than me, and in the back line, because you got a projectile, your damage is...
Right, so there's the answer. You're too far forwards. No, we don't know that. But you see what I'm saying? Like, there's
totally.
a number of reasons why like that happens, and it doesn't necessarily mean that the obvious people are doing things wrong. And I guess here's a question: how many times with in-game stats do you see people being positive to each other about them? And do you think, man, this game has been made a better experience because those stats are there?
Yeah, exactly. I've never found myself, and also, let's be honest, in the middle of a game, what do you actually learn from your stats?
Yeah.
Like, in the midst of all the fighting when you've got, you're trying
you learn to be salty at people. That's what
exactly.
you learn.
You don't learn anything useful. The only time I think stats are useful is when you've got them as a graph alongside playtime, so you can rewatch and see...
Would you also say that you shouldn't have access to the stats on other players before a game?
Before a game?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think that I think even this thing where you can look and see what heroes people play the most is bad because it pigeonholes players who may be good on other stuff. And it makes people prejudge other players.
I can give you an instance of when that creates a positive experience in game. For me personally, that's when someone joins your team as a fruity pick.
Yeah.
Like a Sombra or a Symmetra or whatever. And if I check their hours and if I see all of their hours are on that character, I'm like, yes, they actually know what they're doing. They're at a level they should be at, so they can perform on that character to the level that we're playing at. That makes me happy.
I know that's not unfair, but I think that how often is it that it's that way round?
Hardly
compared
ever.
to the,
it's
compared
usually
to
a
the other way
negative
around.
experience. It's normally people being salty at each other or whatever.
Yeah, I think
Wait. There is another positive experience, and we've done this when we're in a game and you're a flex player, and I'm looking at other people's stats, and I'll see someone with something they're really uncomfortable on because you've taken their main class or whatever, and we can get on the mic and we say, "Yo, Killer Dave 5000. I noticed that you mainly play Genji. Would you like to play Genji and get off that Lucio that you've never ever played before in your life?" We don't say that bit. And they get to play something they want, and but I'd say the vast majority of times it's used as a negative tool.
Yes, I wonder if I think there may be a better way to do that than to just show raw hours. And I think that there is probably a way that you don't give the people the exact access to raw stats.
We're getting into like queuing for certain roles and stuff. Which in fact, massive tangent. This is just a tidbit of information, but a lot of people in Korea, what they're doing now is instead of queuing into competitive when they want to play competitive games, they're setting up scrims in the custom game menu.
Yep,
which I find kind of fascinating.
I think that this is a community thing that happens, because this happened with TF2, right? Like when, after a long time of Valve not providing the competitive experience that a lot of people wanted,
they kind of made it themselves.
Yeah. And I think that what it shows is that certainly in Korea and probably in other areas, there is a void that is left unfulfilled by people who want to play in a more serious way that does not necessarily entail gaining and losing a number.
Yeah. Which actually makes people more likely to cheat and such, because you're giving them a reward thing. Like to cheat in a kind of just a scrim where you gain no points or lose no points, that takes a real asshole.
Absolutely. But I do remember there was an interview a while ago where Jeff mentioned that his thought on the whole role queuing thing is that a better solution is some form of looking for group thing.
Yeah.
And that is something that they were interested in exploring. And obviously that's a lot of work building something like that, so I wouldn't expect to see it like, in the next 3-6 months.
There's this huge advantage to basing it around communities, and this is again from the TF2 days, which was if you're having like a scrim setup where it's kind of, like it's like people knowing people, it means that if someone knows there's an asshole in the community, then you just avoid them. You don't invite them to scrims, you block them. And you just get a much better experience with people not being salty because...
But the other problem with that, the flip side to that, is it denies access to anybody who isn't in the know.
Yes, that's true. It can be a little inaccessible and possibly
it can
cliquey.
it can be quite insular.
Yeah, entirely.
There are downsides to that as well. But either way, I think it's something where there's clearly unexplored space, and we'll see more in the future.
Yep. Okay, so next, one tricks. Now, I don't want to stay too long on this topic because I feel it's just been talked to death recently.
I think the only phrase that I found interesting is basically the last.
So explain what this is. Josh Engine, one of the Overwatch team, has posted on a thread specifically about one tricks, saying one tricking is not against the rules.
Yes. He finishes off his reply with, "We built Overwatch around the concept of teamwork, and we believe the game is much more fun for everyone in a match when we're picking heroes that contribute to the overall success of the team." At times, this means we'll be playing our mains. Other times, we should be trying to help the team by choosing heroes that round out the team's composition. We won't be actioning you if you only play your main, but we also don't believe that this is the ideal way to play Overwatch, especially in competitive settings.
Which is a bit weird, right?
No.
No, I think everything he says there makes sense, but I find the stance a bit weird.
What do you mean? What do you mean with the stance?
Say, right, right. Okay, so if you're going to say this is competitive mode, and if everyone's not trying their hardest, then we're going to say you have to try your hardest. There's no messing around here, or there'll be action responses, right? Yet, they're saying that if you don't roll with the team, then actually you're not trying your hardest.
So here's the really simple thing, which is controlling what people play, what individuals play in a set of circumstances in a measured way that you can actually repeatably and reliably
it's impossible.
Control is basically impossible, because there will be people who are just crap on certain characters, and you may need that character, but they may be so much worse at that character
and
that it's worse having them on that character. It's like you know, you may say, oh, they've got a really good Pharah, we need a soldier or a sniper or a Widowmaker to counter it. But actually what that person is better off doing is going as a counter Pharah and taking them on in the air.
Yeah.
And it's not the direct counter, but it's one of those things of like...
It evens the game.
Yeah, it evens the game. But trying to control people to play certain heroes is not going to help overall, because you can't do it in a way that is consistent.
Unless you're going to enforce whatever the current meta is, and that's just a whole horrible mess of... Bleh.
Absolutely. So I can see why they have this belief that, no, you're not playing the game, you know, the best way that it can be played, but we're not going to do anything because we're not going to control what individuals play. Now,
my question about this is, will it resolve the unrest about one tricks that there is in the community?
No, because what people are going to say is, look, they even think that it's not the best way to play. Why aren't they fixing this? That's what they're going to do. They're just going to point at that.
Yeah, I don't feel this is a satisfactory conclusion.
I think that this comes back to the looking for group thing.
Yeah.
The problem with the looking for group thing is I think you're going to end up with people who play off-meta picks not being able to get a game.
Maybe.
Because they have these kooky off-meta picks, and they just find it a lot more difficult to find teams that will work with them at all.
This is again, people have been talking about this idea of the avoid player thing, but only avoiding for them being on your team, which is interesting. But you know what? Should we just move on from this?
Yeah, there's no conclusion.
Yeah, I think my prediction is the community is going to continue to simmer about this, and they are going to have to do something.
Yeah, we've had this discussion multiple times, and we're just going to have to wait until Blizzard take an action, or we're just going to be waiting forever.
Yep. So, there has been a recent Doomfist buff.
By accident.
Yes, it's not a buff, it's a mistake. It was that Doomfist Punch moved Mei's Cryo Freeze, though it did no damage, and it knocked Bastion out of Sentry mode when at full charge. I'm not sure how much I mind these things.
I suppose the question is it consistent? And is it good for gameplay?
Yeah.
Because if it's one of those things of it did it really inconsistently, that's just bad.
I mean, okay, so what this makes me think, and I think one of the reasons I was like, about this, is that the rise of Bastion on payload maps it doesn't make games feel good.
I know what you mean.
Like losing to a Bastion attack, it doesn't feel like, oh, we almost had that. Like it's almost always like it massively makes it swingy. You either crush them or you lose, or you lose horribly. Or the perception of it is that. I'm pretty sure that currently it's fair, but it doesn't feel good, is what I'm saying.
No, I'm totally with you. I think the other problem is that displacing a well-placed bastion requires a lot more teamwork than most teams are able or willing to provide.
Yeah.
Especially if you lose the first point very quickly.
Yeah, if you're solo queuing or whatever, it causes routes and makes people start playing badly. And
exactly.
Yeah.
So having a way to displace a bastion is probably a good thing.
Yeah. So this Doomfist thing will be fixed imminently. But yeah. People thought it was worth a while. Next, Jeff lays the smackdown.
Yes.
So this was someone complaining on the forums that they got a ban and they hadn't had a satisfactory response. And basically, Jeff personally came in on this one and went through the stats, citing the 220 reports of harassment and some not nice language in chat. And yeah.
Basically, like, do dumb shit, get called out for doing dumb shit. You can't hide what you've done to people who've got logs of what you've done.
Although here's the thing, and this is what we don't know. I'm assuming this isn't the case because presumably Jeff has this information, but we don't know what was said to this person before they replied in these nasty ways.
Yes.
And it seems that they're a Torb main, in which case that might be that they're getting an awful lot of shit for trying to play a character, which Blizzard is saying they're allowed to play. So, yeah. See, this is the other thing about having an avoid playing with someone on your team. And I think this is like a thing. One, that you get this situation where some people aren't necessarily toxic unless they're put with certain other people, and then they will be toxic at each other because they have different, starting points of worldviews of how people should act. And, this whole thing of people, some people just aren't ever going to get on. And separating them is maybe the best, but then, there's a load of issues with that as well. But it's a good read.
Hard.
Yeah, you should read that thing. It's great.
Talking of reading.
Yes.
There
the
is
Yeti
a
Hunt. Sorry, go.
That was after you, please.
No. Announce it.
There is also a Yeti Hunt mini comic, which just sort of, you know what? I don't quite get it.
How do you mean?
I guess it's cute and it's a cute little comic, but I'm also like, but why?
Okay, what this is it's in a very different style to the other comics we have. It's very cartoony. It's actually a little bit watercolory if you get in close to it.
Yeah.
And it shows basically what happens in the Yeti Hunt. May setting traps, monkey eats food, monkey rages out, May runs away, traps monkey runs out of rage. I mean, that's a spoiler, but it's not like, I don't really think I've ruined the experience by saying that's what happens. And then
it just ends with the monkey trapped on ice. Yeti trapped on ice.
Yeah.
But is that really the conclusion to this? Like, what do we learn from this?
Nothing. It's just cute.
Fair enough.
I think if you take it from the point of view of just enjoying the artwork, and I highly recommend, is it Madefire, the people who do the Madefire.com. I highly recommend looking at the Madefire version. It's just lovely. The artwork is actually really, really nice. And I quite like this style.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, it's a bit cutesy, but I quite like that sometimes.
Cutesy's good.
Yeah.
Cool.
Excellent.
And I think that's us for this week.
Oh, it's kind of a quite quick one, wasn't it?
Yeah, we're allowed a quick one every now and then. Last week was too long.
Half an hour. And on that note, I've been Ruskeydoo.
And I've been Grey.
Catch you later.
We'll see you next week.